Well, Michael, if eye-popping ticket prices for the 2026 FIFA World Cup haven't already gotten your blood boiling and wallets wailing, wait until you hear how much it will cost just to get to the games this summer. Everybody's thinking they're already spending thousands of dollars to attend a game. What another couple of hundred does to their budget? Well, we're going to dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of transportation in FIFA World Cup 2026. Let's buckle up. Welcome to Finance of Football. I'm Asli Pellet, and I cover women's soccer for The Athletic.
And I'm veteran sports journalist Michael Array. Welcome back to Finance of Football. We're talking about the very expensive transportation, public transportation, logistical nightmare that we are currently going to have to expect this summer for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. As Asli mentioned in the open, ticket prices obviously very expensive. Public transportation, excessively expensive as well, too, in a lot of cities. But there are some good places that we want to give a shout out to. I think the biggest thing we have to look into this is there's been this overall narrative, right, Asli, of where the money is coming from. We've seen it with security, where you have, cities like Foxborough saying, we're not going to foot the bill for this. We need FIFA, we need the U.S. government to pay for it. And there's a lot of issues with that. And, transportation is certainly no exception. U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean P. Duffy on March 3rd announced that the Federal Transit Administration, the FTA, is investing $100.3 million into public transportation systems within host cities in preparation of the World Cup. Great news, right? But clearly it's not enough money. And we're really feeling it in our backyard here in New York, New Jersey, Boston as well, that the prices for public transportation, we're talking trains, buses, etc., those prices are about as dynamic as World Cup ticket prices, which means that they're going up and up, which is just very frustrating, I think, for all of us, right?
Here's the biggest difference between this World Cup and the other World Cups that I covered or attended. The lack of a countrywide host committee, which runs this big show in coordination with FIFA, the way Brazilians did it in 2014 or 28 in Russia. The host country's governing body of the sport sort of makes a lot of planning before going into host cities, and they foot a lot of the bill from the federal budget, especially in terms of transportation, which is unlike United States of America. Most places have a one centralized system, and it's perhaps easier to facilitate free or cheaper transport in and out of the stadiums. In our case here let's talk about New Jersey, New York. First of all, it's between two big cities. So wherever you are in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, wherever you're staying, you have to take the MTA, the metro, or the bus system that takes you to a major hub, which is Port Authority Bus Terminal or Penn Station, where you would take a train. And then they're going to be, New Jersey takes over, and then they are running the show on the other side. And they're claiming that running extra trains for the passengers, for the ticket holders, is going to cost them a lot of money, and nobody's paying for that. And they're not going to sit there and make their taxpayers, their residents, foot the bill for a game that they're not even attending. So from a political perspective, it's not surprising that New Jersey's new governor, Mickey Sherrill, came out and spoke very clearly about what she's not going to or willing to do to protect her, taxpayers or, voters in New Jersey. But that doesn't really help a lot of people who are coming to our country to attend these games and expect a little bit more from the organizational committee. So now the argument is, who's going to pay for it if somebody has to pay for it? And FIFA came out and talked about it. They're like, this is not our problem. This was your problem. This was already discussed and this was already clear. And clearly in between this argument, there was a change of government in New Jersey. That's one thing. Former Governor Murphy, I guess, accepted to perhaps foot the bill for the transportation, or that's what FIFA executives understood. But the new governor seems to be like, I don't think that's my problem kind of attitude. That's going to be, I think, one of the major issues of where the final is going to take place.
Yeah, exactly. I think, listen, there are a lot of things to unpack here, right? Is it, former New Jersey Governor Murphy's fault about this? Like, I don't know the politics behind it, but you have 15 other cities that are left with the same dilemma. And outside of New York, New Jersey, and Boston, others aren't raising the cost, right? They're not sitting here taking a typically $12.90 fare from, like you said, Penn Station to East Rutherford, New Jersey for this game and increasing it almost 12 times to $150. Right? That's New Jersey Transit. They're doing that up in Boston. They have, they've increased buses and trains, which we'll get into in a little bit, but we're focused on New York, New Jersey. You mentioned that the governor doesn't want the taxpayers to have to foot the bill. Well, guess what? There's tax-paying New Jersey residents who will be coming to these matches who will be footing the bill. So what I am very frustrated in is, so FIFA also says, we're limiting the amount of parking for these games, right? You go to a Jets game, you go to a Giants game, you get the parking lots are full, it's tailgating, it's people having fun, enjoying it. And then you get the commuters who are coming in via, ride share, the train system or buses, right? So say that's a 70-30 split. The World Cup is going to be probably 70-30 the other way, where the majority of people are taking mass transit because they limited to how many people can actually go and park at the stadium. I saw a number recently. I think it was $225 for parking at American Dream, which isn't even it's right next to the stadium.
You still have to walk a lot. And two, who's going to drive? If you're a foreigner, you're not going to drive. Yeah, you're not going to drive to that stadium. That's crazy. And I just want to remind you one detail that I remember from covering women's soccer. There's, I think it was, told me this. They were going to MetLife to play, and the traffic was so awful that it took like 4 hours to get to the stadium. Oh, this was happening last summer as well. If you hit the traffic in the wrong time in New Jersey, let's say everybody decides to pay the $225 and drive there, it's going to create insane traffic jams for everyone involved.
No, listen, I get it. To me, I think what people want is accessibility. They want accessibility with ticket pricing and they want accessibility with transportation, right? If you're spending $600 minimum to go to one of these matches, you don't want to have to sit in traffic for 3 hours. You don't want to have to spend an extra $150 for this round trip fare that should only cost $13. That's where it's frustrating to me as a fan, as someone who covers this sport, as someone who is excited at the prospect of what this tournament can do to this sport in this country. I sit here and I look at it and I go, you know what? No one's going to get excited about this tournament because they feel they are being, just taken advantage of when it comes to the cost. And you look at probably what Airbnbs are going to be in the city and, Ubers and taxi cabs and all that stuff. All those things are going to be surging in pricing. And you're sitting here, you're going to go home. You'll be lucky if you can afford a flight home. At this rate, you're gonna be stuck here because you're spending so much money. So to me, it's outrageous, and I know I'm ranting a little bit, but it's true because I think there's a lot of people who feel this way as well too. But let's dive into this right after the break.
Welcome back to Finance of Football, where in this episode, we vent about transportation cost. So from our reporting at The Athletic, I know that New Jersey transit officials confirmed on April 17 that they will indeed charging commuters from New York City $150 for round-trip train fare for each match at MetLife Stadium. Is that right, Michael? That's like the nutshell, in a nutshell, what's going on. And then we know that the governor of New Jersey came out and said this bill, the difference, the $48 million bill that New Jersey Transit faces to safely transport fans to MetLife Stadium should be partly covered at least by FIFA. And FIFA is saying it's not our problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the accountability game ahead of the World Cup this summer, right? New Jersey Transit officials said they plan to spend $62 million transporting fans to and from the stadium during the duration of the tournament, and outside grants defrayed 14 million of those expenses, right? So the difference is 48 million. And who's going to pay for that? Well, you're looking at two of them because it's coming down to the commuters, to the people who are going to these tournaments. NJ Transit President Chris Kaluri said, quote, "This isn't price gouging. We are literally trying to recoup our costs," end quote. And as Asli mentioned, New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill said, this doesn't make sense, right? Like, yes, it stinks. NJ Transit is stuck with this bill, but FIFA's making $11 billion, right? And she goes, quote, "I'm not going to stick New Jersey commuters with that tab for years to come. FIFA should pay for the rides, but if they don't, I'm not going to let New Jersey get taken for what," end quote. So what that means, we don't know, but we have, 50 something days until the tournament kicks off. And I don't know. I don't know if I see these prices going down. I don't know. With our luck, they'll probably go up. But New York, New Jersey isn't the only city, right, dealing with this, right? Up in Boston, Asla, they've had a lot of financial issues up there.
Exactly.
So what's going on there with their costs?
Well, the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, which is their MBTA, has already offered round trip commuter rail tickets in the neighborhood of $80. But the high demand has led World Cup officials to launch Boston Stadium Express bus service, which, just to remind our listeners, Gillette Stadium is not in Boston. It's actually outside of Boston in Foxborough. So it is about an hour, if you're lucky, drive away from city center. So on match days, they're offering shuttle buses that will run to stadium from a bunch of hotels in the greater Boston area, and round trip tickets, which will be priced by distance, will start at $25, but will reach as high as $95. So here's something. I totally get this. This is an extra service that they're adding, and it's a private bus service, 25, 85, 95. This is fine. This is something that has nothing to do with an existing service. So I get they're trying to do this because instead of putting one person in each car that will drive to Gillette and cause traffic jams, they're trying to minimize the traffic because they don't have a train service between Foxborough and Boston in this case. Boston is, price gouging, whatever you want to call it. At least there isn't much to protest here because I think this would have happened any other country where the stadiums are far away from the city center. I still think what's happening in New York, New Jersey is in a way price gouging because the train actually exists and it's $12. And we've taken it the whole time last summer in and out of that stadium. Every game, they host 8 games in Club World Cup, and everybody took the train. They didn't have to add any more trains to it. I still don't understand how this $48 million bill is like, how is going to change? Are they going to put new trains there? Like, it's a bit of question mark for me in New York's case, in New Jersey's case, whereas Boston's bus prices do not surprise me that much. I don't know if you agree with me.
Yeah, no, listen.
Because they're not raising their transportation prices. Like, existing transportation system still charges the same amount of money.
Yeah, I don't know if those I don't know if those commuter rail tickets are usually $80. I think they are a little more. I remember seeing videos after or it was either before or after the France-Brazil friendly that was played up there, and there were people walking on the rail tracks saying, "Hey, I'd rather walk and save the money, and this is so far, and it's just not a good experience," right? And I think it's kind of exposing the U.S. as a whole, where you have these NFL and college stadiums, and they're not anywhere remotely near the cities, right? In Europe, you have all these stadiums, and they're usually in the downtown. They're the focal point of these communities. And sure, we see that here and there with the smaller soccer side stadium, the 20,000, 25, 30,000. But these 80,000 NFL stadiums, usually out in the middle of nowhere. So you need to get there somehow. And yes, New York, New Jersey does have that the line and the infrastructure as a lot of the other venues are. And it's nice that Boston is adding this express bus service, but to sit there and do it, and people are thinking, hey, I'm going to pay a $25 bus or a $30, whatever, $80, $95. Like these aren't pennies. These are, this is a lot of money. So you're factoring in all these different costs, whether you're already living in the city or if you're traveling in, and that's flight or gas or public transportation, anything. God forbid you want to eat and drink at these games too. I can't imagine what those prices are going to be like. And the tickets, if you're a family of four, you're not eating the rest of the month.
No, this is not for those who are living paycheck to paycheck for sure. But this isn't an event for local fans enjoying a game of their lifetime or supporting their country in this tournament. This isn't their tournament anymore. We've been saying this all along. This is a entertainment product that is catered towards the 1% of the world population. For the regular Joe, there is nothing affordable except, and I have to say, we said we're going to shout out some of the cities. Philly is one of them because they are going to offer the Broad Street line for free during match days. And this bill is footed by Airbnb, our friends who are, jacking up the prices for the World Cup in New York. It's like such a weird contrast, like a city an hour away from New York City.
Yeah, exactly right. I think, like you said, every city is kind of doing their own thing based on the host committee and the priorities and all of that. And growing up in central New Jersey and being a New York sports fan, yes, I was told to loathe and despise the Philly teams, their fans, and everything that comes out of that city. So I still feel that. And my friends who are from Philly or that area, they know that as well too. But I still love you guys. Their SEPTA, which is their public transportation system, they're working with Airbnb, like you said, and they're giving complimentary rides on the Broad Street line after all 6 of the matches in Philadelphia. So just to be clear, this is just the ride home after the match. It's not round trip. Mm-hmm. It's not the, going there. Regular fares still will apply for travel to the matches according to organizers, but to leave, you get the free ride home. And it sends such a great message, right? Like you talk about how brands are, inserting themselves into the conversation and the things they're doing to activate around this World Cup. And it's like, yeah, we're giving away a couple tickets, or, we'll give you a scarf if you come into Home Depot or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's cool. But like, this is actually something tangible. And it's such a great PR move, especially given what we've talked about in New York, New Jersey, and Boston, and just the tournament in general. Now people are going to sit there and be like, okay, I see you, Philly. I see you, Airbnb. Like, you're hooking it up. We appreciate it. Maybe it's not a popular line and 2,000 people are going to take it or whatever, not 20,000 people. I don't know. I haven't been to Philly in a little bit, but like, just the fact that they're doing it already speaks volumes to just how different, like how you can do it the right way. And then you look at what NJ Transit's doing and it's like, you couldn't be further, opposite on the spectrum here.
Yeah. And let's quickly go through other cities, other host cities and what they're doing. Kansas City is keeping the World Cup somewhat affordable by helping those trekking to the stadium. Their Connect KC26 program, they are offering ticket holders a direct shuttle to Kansas City Stadium, about $15 per round trip ticket. I think that's a good one. And they also, if you're around Kansas City, they can also ride this region direct route connecting the festival to more than a dozen hubs across the metro in Lawrence. Those bus lines will cost $5 for an unlimited day pass, or $25 a week, and $50 for the whole tournament. That's a good deal.
You could do, hold on, sorry to interrupt real quick. $50, you can go to and from all around Kansas City for the entire tournament. You get a third of the way to MetLife Stadium for $50. Think about how that is.
Ridiculous. Yeah. This is like Kansas City saying, welcome to Kansas. We're going to show you a good time. Thank you for being here. That's what I'm understanding from everything they're doing. And I've spoken with the host committee. They told me about this almost a year ago, that they're trying to facilitate this for the visitors, because they did not want people to feel like lack of public transportation in general in a city like Kansas will impact their visits. This is hospitality. This is saying, we're going to do our best for you to come and have a good time. Meanwhile, I think Los Angeles, a city that does not have an amazing public transportation system either, and they are kind of afraid of traffic jams. One-way fares will remain $1.75 for their public transportation system. And in Atlanta, they're locked at $2.50. Houston is a single ride is $1.25, so round trip is $2.50. These are all normal numbers. This is just another example of you could do things the right way.
Exactly, that's it, right? Like whether you're somewhat local to any of these host cities or you're coming from anywhere around the world, right? We have first time countries in this tournament. We have countries who are back on the global stage for the first time in decades. It could be the first time in your life you were able to go to a World Cup tournament, and you're just excited about that prospect. And then to come and see how much tickets are and see how much, public transportation is, and how much of a headache. Like, it shouldn't be that. And we haven't even gotten into all of this stuff happening politically, geopolitically, domestically, internationally, and all that just adds on top to it. And you're just like, are you excited for this tournament? Like, I want to be, I really want to be, because I've bought tickets and I work in soccer, right? And we talk about this, and we have friends in soccer, and we know people at FIFA and all this, and you want to see it succeed. But I'm like, we're not setting ourselves up for success here, right? We had Simon Cooper on last week, and he was just kind of like, this isn't. I'm not excited about this. And he's been, this will be his ninth tournament, I think. So he's run the gauntlet of them, and it's just like, you've been to some, you see the difference. I know in Qatar everything was in one city, and they built all these new stadiums and the infrastructure and the trains and all of that, and we just don't have that rail system here in this country because it is the size of Europe. But all around Europe, you have that rail system. So how can you do it in multiple countries, an entire continent, but you can't do it in one country here? And I think a lot of that is getting exposed. And I think, there's going to be more headaches to come after this tournament.
Another thing that every World Cup has a legacy. And, in 1994 World Cup in the United States, the legacy was to create a soccer country out of United States, or at least, lay the groundwork to create a professional league that will succeed here, which it happened. But in most countries, when they're hosting a major sporting event, the legacy is not a professional league or some single entity organization that makes money. It's some kind of public work that makes their lives easier. In Brazil, they did spend a lot of money in building the metro and rail system, albeit it was a shorter, small one, but did they manage to put together a metro system that took people from Sao Paulo all the way to the stadium, even though they have to walk a little bit at the end, like a kilometer or so? Yes, they did. I heard in Russia, they did a lot of public work to facilitate, again, transportation. We didn't do anything. We did not spend a penny for our cities, the host cities, to have a legacy to look back and say, we have this because of the World Cup. Instead, we're going to remember New Jersey Transit trying to jack up the prices. This is just horrible.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you're talking about that legacy and that infrastructure of something tangible we see that's left behind. And I think for me, the thing that I'm concerned about is the perception, right? Like, there's already this, everyone looks down on soccer, the United States, you guys aren't good, or, the team, national team's overhyped. On the men's side, the women obviously have 4, World Cups and are the most successful and decorated team on the women's side. But it's just, we're never going to get to the caliber of the Spains and the Germanys and the Argentinas and you name it, if we don't take soccer seriously, if we don't take soccer as something that's more than just a business, right? And we see it in the youth system with the pay to play, and it's, I don't care if this kid has more talent than this other kid, but his parents have more money, so he's on the team and the other kid isn't, right? Until the top down gets changed, it's not going to make a difference. And I want to be optimistic and I want to be bullish on all of these things. And we're getting this new amazing, training center and facility down outside of Atlanta. And Arthur Blank is super involved in that, which is amazing. And he's one of the big, supporters of soccer as a lead, investor in all these different teams and organizations and all. That's great. But at the end of the day, his job is to make money. Yeah, let's promote soccer and let's do these things. I've never met Arthur Blank. I've never done any of these things. He is a businessman. Soccer in the United States is a business. I'm not saying it's not. The rest of the world, it is, but you at least have opportunities for people to get in at the ground level, at the grassroots level, whether you're a player, you're a fan, you're a coach, you're a trainer, whatever it is. And here we don't have that. So my hope coming out of this World Cup is we can start to plant some of those seeds, right? To go along with the MLS you mentioned and the NWSL and all the leagues and everything we have. But what are we going to get out of this, right? FIFA's going to walk away and be counting their money and all that. And everyone else is going to say, man, I just spent $10,000 to go to 2 soccer games. Now what? Oh, now you want me to watch the Premier League? Now you want me to tune in for the Champions League? I'm turned off because you just took all my money. That doesn't incentivize people to get into this sport. That doesn't incentivize people to go watch the Red Bulls or, any other team, the Galaxy, you name it. I was trying to think of other host cities. So Vancouver Whitecaps. That doesn't incentivize people to support their local team. They sit there and they get such a bad taste in their mouth that they're not going to want to do it anymore. And that's my biggest concern with this. And the transportation issue is a microcosm of the larger issue at hand that's magnified by tickets, that's magnified by everything else that they're doing this summer. And again, I want to be optimistic. I want to see this be the best World Cup ever. But I'm not really sure that that's going to happen. Finance of Football comes to you from the Frequency Machine Podcast Network. Hit us up on Instagram and YouTube at Finance of Football Pod for more football business and our enlightened opinions. Or search Finance of Football on LinkedIn and Facebook. This episode was produced by co-hosts Michael Array and Asa Pellet. It was edited by Ryan Hammond. Mixing and mastering by Julian Kwasniewski. Our theme music is by Hatamitsunami. Our show is executive produced by Ryan, alongside Stacy Book and Avi Glajansky for Frequency Machine. Find more about Finance of Football at frequencymachine.com. Follow us on YouTube at Finance of Football and listen anywhere you get podcasts. Please like and subscribe. Help us reach more people. We love you for it.